Our podcast is a part of the World Podcast Network, now with over 1,000 podcasts. Visit the World Podcast Network at worldpodcast.network to listen to podcasts in over 12 genres. Come vote our podcast episodes up and help us rise on the leaderboard. If you have a podcast of your own, you can join for free. Welcome to Reality Tea Times 2, the podcast where we discuss all the trash reality TV we love to hate. I'm Tanika, and today we're going to be discussing the third episode of Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. But before we do, we're just going to be doing an announcement and then jumping right into the episode. We don't have any hot goss this episode, so Patreon, if you're interested in joining that, you can do so. I'll share the link with you in a second. But we have 3 tiers over there, all in Canadian dollars. So the first tier is $3 a month, where you would get these episodes ad-free, as well as AMAs once a month. Hopefully more to come as time goes on. Second tier, you'll get everything from the first tier, as well as coverage from reality television show from yesteryear, and that right now is Jersey Shore, covering season 3 currently. And then on the third tier, which is $7 a month, you get everything from the first 2 tiers, as well as a coverage of a true crime documentary. Currently, this month's documentary in May was the Lacey Peterson documentary, but there's also the backlog that will be available, which is, Ashley Madison, Into the Fire, Man with 1,000 Kids. So those are 3 done. We have many more to come. So that's kind of where we're at there. So if you're interested in joining, you can head over to patreon.com/reality tea times 2. Link is also in the show notes and is also available on any of the social media accounts, as well as the website, if that's easier for you to find. And again, you can look out for bonus episodes on the main feed for both the second and third tier. With Jersey Shore, we always release the first episode of every season, so that could be every, couple of months or so. We might get a new episode there. We just actually released one in the beginning of May for season 3, and also with the third tier, you will get a bonus episode of the first kind of episode that's released on the main feed as well. So that's all of those are available on the main feed if you want to go back and listen. And then also on the Patreon, you do get to try a tier for free for a week before committing to it. And that same goes for if you were to change tiers as well. So again, that is at patreon.com/reality tea times 2. All right, let's head into the reason that we are here, and that is episode 3 of Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. So we left off with the police showing up. So Jesse's like, I'm starting to regret the guest list, you think? I mean, Jesse the Messy really truly had to bring Chase, of all people, who is a dick. He's hot, but he's a dick. Layla is like, you need to go. Like, you need to leave, because you're ruining the vibe, okay? We have Akeem over here in the corner wanting to just, take this all in, but you're ruining the vibe. You need to leave. So she says, you only came here for one reason, and that reason is to fuck shit up. So, he's like, well, where's Kate? Kate's his girlfriend, in case we needed that reminder, who's also friends with Jesse. And Layla's like, she doesn't want to be around you. She truly does not want to be around him. This poor woman is just being dragged through the mud of Chase and his bullshit. I hope she broke up with him after this. So then Demi is like, go check your girlfriend, Chase. Like, go check on her, make sure she's okay. And he's like, yeah, like, where's your husband? Well, he's upstairs about to try and do Chippendale's routine. But anyways, okay, I think Demi might need to get the messy token here because what the hell was this? Okay, so when he says, where's your husband? Like, what does that matter? Because, she doesn't need her husband around every second of every moment. But he then kind of, I wouldn't even say touches her, but like brushes past her and is kind of maybe on the journey to that. He kind of touched her a little bit. Nothing crazy. He didn't like aggressively put his hands on her. He didn't even intentionally, I think, put his hands on her. He didn't put his hands on her. He never touched her in any way that warranted this. So when that happened, she's like, oh my God, don't touch me. Oh my God, he touched me. Did you see that? He touched me. I'm going to go tell Brett. So she like runs upstairs and says, Brett, Chase touched me. And Brett is off to the damn races because he obviously doesn't know exactly what happened here. He has no clue. He's upstairs practicing his magic Mike moment, so he doesn't realize. So he's charging after Chase to be like, did you touch my wife? Okay, so while that's happening, while Brett's ready to throw hands in Chase's direction, our sweet Hakeem, who's scared of spiders here, who was vying for Jen's heart, which he might have been the better choice. If you want to know more about that, you can head over to my Bachelorette coverage. Anyways, um, he's trying to like just de-escalate the whole situation. How sweet. He's like, damn, I'm actually getting to do something. Anyways, so while Brett's like freaking out, like, did you put my hands on my wife? Did you touch her? Why are you touching her? Like, he's going off and he's like, Chase, in all honesty, Chase is like, huh? I I touched her? I don't remember because he didn't touch her. This man is having to like defend himself. In this case, is the only time I'm gonna give him anything. Is on how to like defend himself for something he doesn't even probably know he did. So Jordan is also like coming in and trying to like, I guess, I am the man who will fight for your honor type situation. And he's like, apologize to her. Apologize to her. He's like, and she's like, I'm sorry? No, say it like you mean it. And he's like, hey, to me, I'm sorry that I touched you. He's confused. I'm confused. And my thing is like, I don't know what Demi's plan here was. I don't know what her end goal was because she really can't think that he really, truly, intentionally, in aggression, put his hands on her. She blew this completely out of proportion and she's like trying to be a victim. It's really weird. Anyways, this is when the police show up because someone called because they saw this argument between Brett and Chase. It's fine, they say, because Brett has no gone, and it's fine. Drama's over, so y'all, let's bring out the Chippendales. And as we know, Jen is the one who's going to be getting a lap dance from an actual Chippendales dancer. And these two husbands, this is weird. And it's uncomfortable. Meanwhile, Zach is just kind of sitting beside her while all of this is happening. It's weird. Like, it can be fun and games or whatever, but it's weird. And Demi's husband, let me tell you, can I say this? Like, I know he's a little problematic. I've heard things, but He's hotter than the actual Chippendales dancer. Anyways, but Jenna's like, I really am starting to question Demi and Jesse's intentions right now because, like, they have to know this is uncomfortable. I'm working on my marriage. Yes, we're saying that he's like working on himself, but maybe this is too much too soon. And like they are treating this as like, this is exposure therapy. And it's like, oh, because here's my thing. I think like with Zach, man, I do wonder if he's the kind of, we saw how he reacted the first time with Chippendales and how he treated her with that. And basically, it's like, it's your fault, and it's not her fault. And it's like, she's the one that's going to deal with the consequences, quote unquote, with Zach for just being, a little unhinged about the whole situation. She's the one that has to go home and deal with that shit. They don't. So like I don't know. And this is gonna expand more than this. So I'm not putting everything out there that I'm thinking about this. But I'm just like, I feel like if I know something bothers my friend's partner, I'm not going to make it worse by exposing them to something that makes them uncomfortable. You know what I mean? It's it's a choice and it's a weird choice. But while this is all kind of happening, Zach looks very uncomfortable and he also looks pretty pissed. So then we talked to Taylor about this whole bullshit with Chase and Dakota. She's pissed off and I think it's warranted because she's like, Dakota pisses me off more than Chase does because like with Chase, she expects him to be an asshole. With Dakota, I mean, I think she's hoping that he won't be an asshole, but then he ends up being an asshole and believing Chase when she's like, I'm the mother of your child. I'm the one who's telling the truth. He isn't, and you're believing him. It just adds insult to injury for them. And then that's kind of it. I think like at this point the party's over. It's actually Halloween. We're just watching these kids trick or treat. It's fun. Then so this is gonna get darker with Mikayla. This is gonna get pretty dark here. So just trigger warning for sexual assaults and molestation. So just trigger warning for that. So Mikayla apparently got her sister to dress up as her and Whitney with the headband and everything, and a sign on her back that says, I'm never wrong. That's hilarious. Anyway, Mikayla kind of talks about her chronic skin disease, which I do recall her talking about in the first season, um, and kind of her struggle with that. And she's like, sometimes like my face would be worse, but then my body would be fine, but then my body would be worse, and then my face would be fine. And she's kind of just, yeah, that's a lot. Then she kind of talks about being sexually abused for about 4 to 5 years. She said she didn't understand what was going on, obviously, because she was pretty young. This ended when she was 15. So just let that part sink in. This could have been happening like from around 10 years old. But she said when she was 15, she knew that it had to stop. Like this couldn't go on any longer. So she ends up telling her mother, and her mother seems like a just a wonderful woman, huh? Yeah, no. She literally says like she didn't believe me. I will never understand parents who are like, that could not be true when your child comes to you and says, someone's touching me inappropriately or someone's doing this to me or whatever. I will never understand a parent who doesn't believe their child. Will never understand it. Baffles my mind. But now she kind of feels like she can't tell people anything, that she's holding things in because the one person who was supposed to protect her didn't. And she can't open up about things. And she struggles to express herself in this way. So I'm kind of like listening to her talking about this. It's kind of like, well, I think this chronic skin disease that she's dealing with is kind of a direct result of probably her anxiety that I'm sure she feels, the lack of control that I'm sure she struggles with. Um, Everything that comes from being a victim of sexual assault. No wonder she's going through what she's going through. And it's like she kind of has to work with that from within, going to therapy, that kind of thing. Um, but that's so heartbreaking that she has had to deal with things like this. So Jen and Zach, they're talking about the party afterwards. And Zach is like, why do they think they have a right to, do exposure therapy on us? Which, I mean, true. They don't. They're not therapists. But yeah. He says, I sit down with them, give them my time. Let's be very real here. I sit down with them and I just give them my time. The time that I shouldn't have to give them. Anyways. And then 4 days later, in front of people that I don't know, they do that. That's besides the point. But I mean, I hear him saying, "God, I don't want to give him anything." I hear him saying, I sit down with you, I try to, squash all of this with you guys, and then you do this. But at the same time, he's kind of like probably really thinking, I'm the boss. I, waste my time on you for the sake of my marriage. Um, when I don't really think he gives a shit. But anyways, for the sake of my marriage, and then you disrespect me and you disrespect the marriage. Anyways, Zach also says, if Brett came to me, that's one thing. But why would Brett even think to go to you? Especially, I didn't quite agree with this argument because I think he thinks, especially because what will come out a little later, I don't think it's coming out at this point. Maybe it has. I don't know. But is he's thinking, Demi and Jesse have already talked to Jen about this. They figure that Jen is going to go to you and tell you this, but Jen isn't going to tell you anything. Like, I honestly think even if she didn't think they were going to dance on her, then maybe she could have still warned him, and said, listen, this is what's going to happen. Um, how do you feel about it? It's the lack of the communication. So I think Brett would never think to say anything because he thinks that you and her will talk about it. And he asks, like, did they tell you? Now, Jen lies here and she says no. But then she says, well, they mentioned it, but like, I didn't know they were serious. Why wouldn't you think they were serious? Or even if you thought you thought they were joking, you could have literally said, so wait, are you serious though? Especially when they're like, oh, we're going to do this, this, or this, or, we're going to do this, or whatever. They start talking about plans. That's when you step in and you're like, oh, you're for serious, you're for real. And then you go accordingly. I don't believe her. I don't believe she thinks it was a joke. I don't. I I do think they told her. And I do think they left out the most important part of Jen's the one they're going to dance on. I do think that. But I also don't think that she thought, oh, yeah, well, they told me, but I thought they were joking. I don't believe that. I think she knew at the very least that they were going to do a Chippendales dance. At the very least. So, yeah, so then we see a clip at this point where they're telling her, oh, yeah, we're going to have like Chippendales dancing. Brett and Jordan are probably going to do it or something. And then Jen literally say, oh, I love that. Oh, I love that idea. Okay, two things. Number one, Jesse and Demi want to literally say that we told her that they were going to dance on her. We didn't see that in the clip. If you said that to her, I want the receipts. I don't remember seeing the receipts. Number two, Jen saying, oh, I love that idea. goes against the grain because knowing that Zach didn't like that whole situation, for Jen to say, "Oh, I like that idea," is really playing with fire, which is why she was never going to admit to Zach that she said that. Never would admit to him. But then Jen says, um, like, I need you to work on your frustration towards me, which maybe, for sure. I don't even maybe, for sure. Because I think the difference in this case versus first season is Jen had an inkling that something might happen. Whereas in first season, she had no freaking clue. And even when she did, know and they went, she didn't do anything. And like what happened in this situation didn't even happen in the last situation, you know what I mean? And we saw how he acted. Now, I think he controlled himself a little bit more, but he was fuming. And last season, he was freaking out at her, saying she's a bad person, bad mother, whatever. So I think definitely that needed work. He says, I'm not frustrated at you, but you're taking it out on her. I do think, a little belief him. I do think he's frustrated with her. Unrational, like it's irrational. There's no reason to be frustrated with her, but I do think he is frustrated with her at the end of the day because the friends she picks and the things they like to do. So it's her fault that she has these friends that put them in this situation. So he is frustrated with her. But on the other hand, he may also he is frustrated with Demi and Jesse, but he's going to put it out, take it out on her because she's the easy target. She's the closest target. She's his wife. She isn't going to act that same way with Jesse and Demi because that's disrespecting someone else's wife. But he'll disrespect his own. I'm just saying. He says he's frustrated at the situation. I think I broke that down. He feels like her friends are bad friends. He's been thinking that from moment one. And this is what he wants. He wants like her to not be friends with them anymore. She then says, like, I feel alone because like it's basically coming at her at all directions between Zach now probably being mad at her about the whole thing, just to me being mad at her about lying, because it's coming at her all directions. I don't even know if this is a point where we find out, and I don't think so. So I'll leave that for now. But she walks off and she says, I don't want to do this right now. And can you turn the cameras off? So, yeah, Jen wants to have this or sorry, rephrase. I said she said that. Zach said that. Zach was the one that said, I don't want to do this right now. Turn the freaking cameras off. Like, I'm out. And she says, no, I want to have this conversation now. Here's the one thing I'll say, like, maybe this is a pattern for him, not, going head on with the issues and just dealing with them, which I'm the same way. I don't want to wait on necessarily dealing with things unless there's just no point of resolution and maybe we need to take a step back for a bit and reassess and come back. But like there's going to be a deadline for that coming back, not, ignoring the situation or anything like that. But so maybe this is a pattern for him. But I do think that it is always good to take a minute and come back to it. But if it's not a pattern, if it's a pattern, then I totally get where she's coming from. So then we see Whitney in labor who gives a shit. She had a baby boy that she can dance in front of it and tuck and when he's sick. Okay. So some of the girls are at a fair with their kids. Y'all, I don't remember whose kid this I think was Macy's. Was it Macy's kid? I don't remember whose kid it is. But someone's kid's name is Jager. Now, maybe I'm gonna be a little shitty here. If you had two sons, would you name one Mick and the other one Jager? I'm just asking questions. Anyways, so they talk about Jen, now she's coming forward to me about this Italy trip, which I can't remember if we talked about that yet. No, we did. We did talk about the Italy trip. Um, More on that later. So then we see Taylor and Miranda. They're talking to kind of just hash out their situation here. So they're both hoping that the other can tell the truth. Well, it really feels like one's been telling the truth the entire time. Miranda says, like, I only kissed. Like, I didn't do anything else. And Taylor says, I agree with you. There was no sex involved with other husbands. None of that happened. But then Taylor, y'all, she starts listing all the shit. So I hope I grabbed everything. This is going really quickly. But here we go. Number one, we had sex with our husbands together in the shower. Holy shit. Number two, we had sex with our husbands in bed together. Well, I mean, if you had sex in the shower, you might as well go to the bed too. Why not? Number three, we blindfolded each other and guessed which husbands were kissing. That's a that could potentially be going to a point of no return. But anyways, that's that. Number four, once it was the two of us in a room with four husbands and we were in booty shorts. Okay. Then Miranda says, well, Taylor isn't wrong. So, bitch, you literally been here for 2 seconds and you tried to say that Taylor was lying about everything that happened, yet she wasn't lying about anything that happened. What the hell? And then she says to Taylor, well, you're right. We did have sex in the same room. She, and I think this is valid. She says, like, I was just embarrassed to admit these things because as a Mormon woman, it's not something you want to admit to. I think even take the Mormonism out of it, just in any kind of religion or any kind of situation, especially in a public, forum, you don't want this kind of thing to come out because, especially as women, it's never, oh, what did the men do wrong? What did the men more do immorally? It's never about the men. It's always the women who get shit on, and you're the whore. You're the problem. You're a Jezebel or whatever. Whereas the men, it's like, let's praise them because, yeah, you know what I mean? So even to take the religion out of it or the Mormonism out of it, it's just being women in a situation like this can be really tough. Um, I'm not hating on Taylor because I think like whatever, it was her story to tell. But I definitely understand where Miranda's coming from. So she says, like, I was dealing with, the double betrayal. She's a betrayal from my husband with the whole Taylor thing. So that would have been the whole, she saying she had a sex dream about Chase and then Chase saying, I have a thing for you. And then, him being rejected and neither person said anything. And then the betrayal from Taylor, for not saying anything about that whole situation. So Taylor says, I was a better person before all of this. I was a loyal wife. I was a good friend. The more I did this, meaning swinging, the more I felt weak. And she kind of, you know, yeah. She's like, I hate that person, the person who was swinging. I hated that person. And Miranda, being very sweet in this moment, basically says, give yourself some grace. You're doing okay, you know? Then we see Mikayla at therapy, kind of, dealing with the stuff that we talked about before. So not much else to say there. So we're at Whitney's after she had the baby, and Taylor's here, and Macy too. So Macy and Whitney had gotten together, before to hash things out with the whole baby mama launch and her not being there and everything. Apparently, on top of everything, she also Whitney posted these texts between Macy and herself, which is like, it's such an insult to injury when it's like, okay, you didn't show up. You're supposed to be my friend. You then show up for someone else's birthday party, which is really weird. But then you also post these private text messages online because you want to prove yourself. And like, that's betrayal. But then we're not we fill Whitney in the whole Halloween situation because she wasn't there because she was pregnant. Whitney is like, I can't believe I'm saying this out loud, but I think I want to come back to mom talk. Bitch, you literally are here being like, fuck off to mom talk. Good luck without me. Blah, blah, blah. Pissing on sticks and sticking it in a cake. But I'm good. And now she's like, I want to come back to mom talk. Talk about the tail between the legs. Anyways, now we're with Jen. And y'all, she's 10 days late. And I'm like, now I did hear about all of this. I already knew, you know, spoiler alert, I guess, if you haven't watched the episode, but I already knew she was pregnant before. Like, I think I saw this like a couple months back. So I already knew this, but seeing it in real time, seeing how she's struggling mentally, and also knowing the timeline of what's kind of going on with them, and the fact that they're just, they were separate for some time. This is clearly devastating to her. She starts crying, saying that she is scared. She's like, I want to be happy about this, but I'm not. The timing is off. Their marriage isn't doing good. Her mental health is clearly not doing good. Her friendships are falling apart. Now is just not the time. And then she does the test. She gets the results, and the test is positive. Anyway, that is it for this episode. We'll be back. We're just gonna try to get through these episodes as quickly as possible. I know. Haven't finished diaries. I don't know at this point. Last Resort's not getting done. I'm not doing it. It's fine. It's over. I do want to finish up diaries, but that might be kind of the last minute thing or after the fact or whatever. We'll kind of briefly talk about it. Or maybe I'll talk about it briefly at the top of an episode. I don't know. But we do have on for love and regular 90 days. So I do want to get back to that, but I want to finish these up. That's kind of the main focus right now. Anyways, that is it for me. That is it for this episode. So if you like what you heard, please rate, review the podcast on either Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Also, don't forget that you can also share us with everyone in your life if you really love this. And I do want to read those reviews. I'm definitely getting 5-star ratings, but I want to read those reviews. So send me those reviews and I will read those 4 and 5-star reviews on the podcast. Also, we're on every one of your favorite podcast apps. Every one of them, including you can find us on YouTube at Reality Tea Times 2. If you want to connect with us, you can do so by going to either Facebook or Instagram at Reality Tea Times 2. You can also find us on Twitter, TikTok, Reddit at Reality Tea Times 2 Pod. We also have our email, which is at realityteatimes2 at hotmail.com. Definitely want to hear from you guys. And we also have our new website where you can listen to all of these episodes. You can review the podcast on there as well. You can connect with me in any way, all the stuff. It's all there, and you can find me there at www.realityteatimes2, all spelled out, .podpage.io. It's there. And don't forget, I also have my other podcast with my friend Mikayla, Next Take Podcast, where we talk about all kinds of different topics. But you can find us on any of your favorite podcast apps over there as well. Or you can also go to YouTube and you go to Next Take Podcast, as well as our website, which is solo.to/Next Take Podcast. So yeah, there's that, and that's basically that. And again, don't forget, if all of this information is overwhelming, we do have all of the links, everything in our show notes. But that is it for now, guys. Thanks. Bye.